Hello, world. Welcome to the Founders, Futurists, and Failures podcast. I'm your host, Conor Flynn, and today our wonderful guest is Anastasia Miron. Anastasia is a social mompreneur and innovation evangelist. She is the founder of Childproof Yourself, a virtual reality application that trains parents. She is also a co-founder of Globin, an online marketplace to discover products from global artisans. Additionally, Anastasia co-founded Ptsd, which empowers children in residential institutions in Moldova through inclusive ICT education and development. Our show today is brought to you by Startup Commons as well as Entrepreneurial. Startup Commons specializes in scaling entrepreneurship and innovation by working in partnership with startup ecosystem cornerstone organizations such as governments and higher education institutions to develop environments in which startups can flourish. Entrepreneurial works to prepare the next generation of entrepreneurial leaders for careers in startups, impact investing, and economic development. You can now order Founders, Futurists, and Failures t-shirts at entrepreneurial.com/shop. Now, let's hear from Anastasia Miron about virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and positive parenting. As a social mompreneur, you have developed companies around positive parenting and childhood education. What are these companies and what problems are they solving?
So the company that I developed for positive parenting is called childproofyourself.com. Please go Google it and start using the VR application. And it is focused specifically on the better communication that comes from parents towards children. Because as adults, sometimes we forget how it is to be a child and what is going on in children's brain and what kind of hormones they elaborate when they are scared or when they're hugged or complimented. So through VR, it's very easy to actually visually show the impact of our reactions.
Excellent. So, how can VR be used as preventative medicine for adverse childhood experiences?
So we as parents have a huge power that we don't really know, or sometimes maybe we don't understand. And what I'm propagating and saying, and actually I'm writing a book about that, is that VR rewires or trains our brain in marvelous ways. Being said, that is, the VR can impact our empathy so strongly that when in real life, it feels like a deja vu. So as parents, we learn how to interact in a crisis situation with our child in order to prevent the ACEs, so the adverse childhood experiences. So we know we don't have to raise our voice or hit the child or just disregard the feelings or dismiss the feelings. So the whole training is based on a lot of neuroscience and pediatric research, and it's transformed into an immersive experience in VR. Hence, it helps the parent to basically be I would say a trained psychologist or a trained pediatrician for their own child, because as parents, we know our children best, but sometimes it's just so intense that we don't control ourselves, right? So unfortunately, often it creates a vicious circle and we become the ones who are creating the stressful situations for the child. And by simply training ourselves in VR and understanding the reasons why our reaction can trigger a trauma in our children, we can prevent that. And there are a lot of studies done by Stanford and MIT on how experiencing VR can change your behavior in the real life.
That's intriguing. So, Could you please elaborate a little bit on how VR can be used for brain rewiring?
Mm-hmm. So there is this lab at Stanford University that they are working exactly on experimenting and understanding how VR is changing the behavior in the real life. And the professor Jeremy, he is absolutely amazing and brilliant, and he dedicated 20 years of his life, about 20 years of his life now, on running experiments. And they have proven that, shown that people who are experiencing immersive VR and meet themselves as old people in VR, they plan better for retirement in real life. So basically, they took this cohort of, I think, 27 people, not a big one, but definitely significant study. So they put these people in VR to experience how it is to get old and how they're going to be when they are old, and then follow them for a couple of years to see who is keen to actually plan for retirement and invest more money in 401k. And that was the result. People who actually experienced the VR immersive, then they would plan better. And then there is another study that shows how to actually cut a tree in VR makes us more sensitive in real life of overusing paper or being more environmentally aware of what it means to cut down a tree for different purposes. I don't know, even for the toilet paper or the paper towel that we use and abuse. That's what is out there. I can talk more about PTSD and how it helps rewire our brains, or and Professor Skip Rizzo, he does a lot of research. He's been working for many years on that, as well as how VR helps regain speech for people who lost their speaking abilities due to a stroke. So that's not much of a research there. It's just a startup that actually goes into the hospitals and applies that. It's not in a lab, it's on real people, and it's I don't know if I could call it an experiment, because just people are volunteering to do that.
Yes, that's intriguing that they're experimenting with VR in the field for people regaining their speech. And I would love to hear you elaborate a little bit about how VR can be applied to PTSD.
So post-traumatic disorder is when we are in a situation of stress, and then out of this situation of stress, we are not threatened anymore, but we still feel the same effects on our body, right? Anxiety, or maybe migraine, or even people can become furious and uncontrolled. So VR creates a milder, well, you can create multiple variation of how to deal with PTSD and how to help PTSD through VR. But what we have now is VR applications that are replicating this stress environment, let's say a war zone, and puts the soldiers that have the PTSD back in this environment. It's milder, it's controlled, and it's guided. So basically, it helps to go there, go back into your pain zone, and understand that it is in the past, and the whole guiding rules are very similar to what eye movement desensitization does. It's a tool that psychologists and psychiatrists have been using for many years now, from about 40 years, and it has amazing results. So VR is just so much more powerful, and they combine those two methods and use immersive experiences to basically retrain our memories and make our memories of a traumatic experience softer, so we don't have the body reaction towards our PTSD. You know, we don't have as much anxiety, or we're not uncontrollable. People become less sensitive when they are to the bad experiences that they had in real life. They basically move on and move forward.
Right. So basically, VR can be more powerful than EMDR therapy in this space.
Definitely it is. And it's not me saying it. There are other researchers and as well psychologists that are talking about that. Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So you also know a lot about artificial intelligence. And so what role do you think that will play in the future of parenting?
Ooh, that's a great question. I just gave a TED talk about that. I do think that as parents of today, we have the moral duty to learn everything we can about the technology that we have in hands now, because in 10 to 20 years, it's going to be everything we know now is going to be obsolete in 10 to 20 years, and we will not be able to connect or talk to our children about what they are going through, what they're experiencing. And I do believe that humans will be always superior to artificial intelligence, and there is no threat that AI will take over. You know, very often you hear this, oh, the computers over robots are going to take away our jobs. Well, they're going to take away boring jobs of introducing data or, analytics. But the creativity, the empathy, the sensitivity that the humans have will never be replaced by AI. And again, we, the humans, are producing and engineering the AI. It's not the other way around, right? So we always have to keep that in mind, that what we put in our robots, this is what we're going to get. And as parents, I always encourage to at least try to use technology and understand or kind of predict what our children will be using in the future. The learning curve is exponential and it grows so fast, and it's almost irreversible. You know, it's not that we have Alexa now in our houses, or we have an iPhone, iPad, and a computer and a smart TV. It's not going to go away. It will just get different and probably more complicated or sophisticated.
Yeah, so you've definitely made the point that parents have to stay in touch with technology trends so they can experience the world through their children's eyes. And so, what is your general philosophy on positive parenting?
Well, positive parenting starts from inside. You know, it's an inside out process. So it's a call for action for adults to get in touch with themselves, with their feelings, not be ashamed, or be okay with feeling maybe not always happy, maybe not always prepared, or maybe not always having the questions, the right questions. And just to accept how human we are. And when kids come around, it's amazing how triggering this event can be, and it triggers the emotions that sometimes we don't even know we have them, or we're able to feel this sadness or this huge happiness. So for me, parenting from a loving and humbling space is the positive parenting. It's very easy to make mistakes, and mistakes are human, and it is all right to make mistakes. Otherwise, we wouldn't be the Homo sapiens sapiens that we are now. We would be AI already. But what I say always is we need to learn to ask for forgiveness, even to a child. And we need to learn how to stop on our tracks, check in, and say, hey, maybe I said that or I did that because I was hungry or I was irritated or I'm just really tired. I'm sorry. Right? So that brings a lot of empathy, that shows us and to the child that it's okay to make mistakes. It's important to recognize them and to honestly say, I'm sorry, or I didn't mean that. That's the positive parenting for me.
Yes, that's excellent advice to come from an empathetic, loving, and humbling space.
Right.
So, how do empathy learning as well as brain hacks fit into your positive parenting philosophy?
So what we do is we create an immersive experience of stressful situation for the parent, right? Imagine you are in a restaurant or in a plane with a lot of people, a lot of social pressure, right? And your toddler just runs away and starts yelling, screaming and kicking. And you need to order dinner, or the toddler just has to sit down in their seat in the airplane because the airplane is taking off. What do you do? Right, so we present the parent in VR with this situation. It's an immersive experience, right? They are there with their kid, they see, and they are able to interact as well with their child in the VR. So that triggers your brain to feel like, oh my God, I have this pressure. And of course, we put people that are shushing the child or other people that are looking bad at you. So just to recreate the whole real experience. And then we give you options. So the parent can choose what she or he is willing to do in that moment of crisis. Right, either hug the child, or say, "Hey, it's okay. It's gonna be all fine. Just sit here. Don't express yourself too much."
Yes.
Or just say, "Okay, I'm the parent. You sit here. You shut up." So there are different ways you can go about it. Not all of them are great, but depending on what the parent choose, we show them visually in VR what kind of hormone has been triggered by their reaction, and if the child is in flight or fight mode, or if the amygdala is aroused, or if the prefrontal cortex has been triggered, hence it releases a little bit of endorphin, so the child feels much better and is able to be reasoned with. And based on that, we do another similar training. And again, bear in mind, it's all 5 to 7 minutes experiences, right? It's just so intense.
Right.
That your brain reacts to it. So next time when actually a tantrum happens, never mind where, in a restaurant, in a plane, or in a supermarket, the parent will know what is going on. As well, we do have a guided explanation why is this happening in the child's brain and what part of the brain is already developed, what is still developing, and what are the long-lasting effects of our reactions as parents to tantrums or to different other complicated situations. Like, how do you react to your child if she or he tells you that they're gay, or if you have to tell them that you're divorcing, right? So those are very sensitive and complex topics that sometimes we don't know the right words to use, or even the body language and how we express ourselves can be fundamental.
Wow, Childproof Yourself sounds like it provides a very intense and immersive learning experience.
Definitely. It's basically 3 books in 7 minutes. You learn whatever you could learn in by reading 3 books. You learn it in 7 minutes just by experiencing it, seeing it. And yeah, we try to recreate the environment. So it's
That's
intense,
amazing.
definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about another one of your companies called
Mm-hmm.
Globin.
Yes,
And so that connects shoppers with authentic handmade products from around the world to support remote artisans and farmers.
exactly.
And
Mm-hmm.
so we have a lot of budding social entrepreneurs who listen to the podcast. So I was wondering, what advice would you give to people who want to enter the e-commerce space?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm a doer, so I always say just prototype it. I don't advise to do it 100% and jump into the ecosystem or eco fashion or handmade goods or any other space you want to enter. If you just jump head first, it can be not what you expected, so it can be painful, right? But if you just tip your toes into and learn about the space and really see that yes, it's something you are very interested and passionate about, and your skill set are aligned with what you want to do next, then yes, do it. But again, prototyping is extremely important. So if you have an idea, trying to see who else is in this space and does maybe something similar, and then take it from there and think how you can do it better or how you can do it for a niche and find exactly the target market you can provide a great service for, and do a little prototype, run some tests, talk to people, get a piece of your product, whatever it can be. I don't know, e-commerce or traveling website for people who want to connect with experiences from around the world and actually stay with artisans, whatever it might be, right? You
Right.
just start a small part of it, not the full on whistles and bells idea that you have. And that should take you to the next level and understand where you need to put more work or where you got it, you nailed it, and you go and ask for funding, boom, done.
Yes, yes, that's basically the minimum viable product concept
Right, yeah.
that you're talking about. Yeah, the prototyping.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great advice that people should see who other people working in the space and then do their prototypes and gather feedback and not just dive head on into it if they should just test the waters a little bit.
Yes, that's my general advice. And as well, a lot of intention, a lot of calm breathing, and always remember that entrepreneurship is like a roller coaster. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, but the ride is fun. So just buckle up for a wild one, and you're gonna be fine.
Yes, the ride is fun.
Yeah.
So, how has your global background and experience as a mother impacted your business practices?
So as a global citizen, I do feel very ambitious. I feel free. I feel powerful and empowered. And when it comes to be a mother, I feel a little bit less powerful or free because the whole society just doesn't provide the infrastructure for a successful experience of a full-time working mother. So that's why I call myself a mompreneur, because I have to continuously figure out my way out and understand how I can still be a good, loving, present mother and wife, and how I can be a successful entrepreneur. Because when you go out there and you sell your product, doesn't really matter what is going on back home, and you don't tell your customer, oh, I didn't do my product very well because my toddler had a fever and then my husband had to work late hours, and I'm going to deliver you just 90% of what I said, but please pity me, so give me your money. No, it just doesn't work that way, right? You can't do this. But the social structure is not necessarily helping because it's kind of rigid, and you have to be working from 9 to 5, right? Those are the rigid hours. And usually I work from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. because that's the time when my toddler is asleep. So I have some freedom of thinking, so I don't have anybody bugging me. And that's been a challenge, but definitely knowing that other people are going through the same and fighting and figuring out new solutions is very empowering, and it gives me hope. So yeah, I forgot your question, I think. Did I deviate too much?
No, you explained some of the challenges you face very well, and it sounds like quite the balancing act to juggle being a mother as well as an entrepreneur.
Yes, a continuous juggle.
Yes. So, how can our audience assist you or get involved with your companies?
I'll definitely go online, check them out. Globin, globin.com, and you can subscribe to our boxes that we're sending every month to our customers with amazing handmade goods from around the world who tell a story about the artisan. And as well, please go on childproofyourself.com and subscribe to the waiting list, and I will send you the VR demo, and you can experience the whole positive parenting education that I'm talking about.
Yes, your positive parenting education sounds phenomenal.
Thank you.
And it sounds like Globin is a great way to connect with goods from artisans around the world.
Yes.
Yeah, so
indeed it is. So that would be great support if people just go out on the internet, check it out. And I'm always happy to hear any type of feedback, positive or negative. I'm very happy to hear critiques. And if somebody is interested to understand more about both of those companies, I'm happy to chat. They can check me out. My name is Anastasia Miron, Miron. Everything is very transparent. You know, the internet doesn't hide much.
Yes, and you also have some great videos up on YouTube that our audience should check out as well.
Right, yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much, Anastasia.
Sure, thank you.